I'm Nurse Jessica Seitz, along with Nurse Erica. We're Nurses Uncorked, the podcast that takes nursing facts with nursing comedy and makes a little cocktail out of it.
Hi guys, welcome back to a bonus episode of Nurses Uncorked. I am Nurse Erica, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Nurse Jessica Seitz. She usually gets to say that, but she's a little emotional today, so I'm doing the intro. And she's emotional because we just literally a couple minutes ago got done with our podcast with world-renowned psychic medium John Edward. And Jessica had some powerful moments and validations during that podcast, and so she's a little emotional today. You might see a little different side of Jessica, but it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
And I think that we're both like,
it's a healing day. It's a healing day.
Yeah.
And it's something I should do more often, actually, which is talk about past loved ones that have, good God Almighty, I'm a
Here
mess
she goes
today.
again. Here she goes again.
Yeah, I should do this more often because it is good. It's healing, but I don't do it because I hate, it's so emotional that it's just a hard place to go to. So
yeah, and it's draining.
It is draining, yes.
Yeah.
Crying makes me tired. I don't like it.
Oh, me too. If I have a good cry, I'm done for. I need to nap.
Oh, you need a nap?
Yeah.
Then when you wake up, you're puffy and you still feel...
And then your nose keeps running or getting stuffy.
Until the next day. I don't recover till... So I'm doomed for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Well, I did not cry, but I also didn't really get validation. And, I'm a little salty, but...
But Erica I think we needed a rock. We needed somebody to be the rock on this episode. And I will say Erica was nervous before he came on. And then she just went into a zone of she was like Oprah Winfrey. You were like all just, hi, John. The first question is, and she's just like all relaxed, like she's talking to her cousin Johnny. And I'm here like...
She clammed up. You guys, she clammed up. Have you ever heard Jessica clam up? Because I have not. She's normally like Miss Talkative and boisterous.
I did.
And
I
I just kept talking, feeling bad, like I was manipulating the conversation or something. And I kept trying to throw you bones. Like, here's your opportunity, Jess. Jump in there. And she's like,
I just was
just sitting there.
I don't know what I was just like, I could not believe that it was happening. I'm like, this is like somebody that I've just I've followed all these years and used to watch Crossing Over religiously. I loved that freaking show. I mean,
I remember it.
I remember I constantly there's no way that's coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Like, I've always thought that this man has a gift, like a true gift.
He does.
So for him to come on our little podcast was like, what? Like, I just, such a nice man, such a appreciative person of healthcare workers and nurses. And genuine. I mean, he follows Erica. I did. Erica started following me on Instagram last night.
He followed
me on Instagram.
I don't think he even follows me on Instagram.
He's known who Erica was. I only started following him yesterday on Instagram. And I think maybe he saw that I was a nurse and probably didn't even put it together. And then followed me back. But he doesn't follow me on TikTok, and that's okay. I don't care. But he did.
He only follows
know who
hospice
Erica
nurses.
Was.
No, I'm just kidding.
I guess. I don't know. Whatever. All I know is that I'm glad that he did follow you and you followed him, because now we made a friend, and he was so receptive and welcoming to come on our podcast. And I'm looking at this man like on the screen in front of me.
She was just like. And then
because
the other thing is you look up, which I just discovered. Apparently when Jessica gets nervous, she looks up when she's speaking. I've never seen her do this before because honestly, she doesn't get nervous.
I was looking for my mother. Like,
she doesn't get nervous. Like, she'll just speak off the cuff. Whereas I need like notes and research and a prepared speech, to be comfortable. Jessica just gets up there and talks. But today she's like, looking up as she's
Well,
talking, and I realized that's your
the one
nervous thing.
It is. It is. Whenever I am really stressed or nervous, that's one thing I will do. And I told Erica this earlier. People actually think I'm looking off, like to coaching me or something, like but it's not it. It's just maybe I'm looking
Yeah,
for like help from somebody. But I will say, up until he joined and logged onto the podcast, we didn't know if he would have the availability to be visual or not.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah, he had told
because
us that
he's on tour. He didn't know where he would be for the taping, and he said if there's a good background, then he hopes to be able to be on video.
So
Yeah,
when he
so I was
popped on and there
happy.
he was, I was, I think I did some dorky thing. That part's not recorded, but I was like, then I got nervous and told him about my husband said he takes like everybody else.
John
I
Edward
did.
just comes on like 2 seconds before on our podcast, and her introduction to him is, well, my husband says you like everyone else. And I'm like,
let me rephrase it. I said, I am so genuinely nervous right now. I said, and I'm going to start this off with a icebreaker. And so I told him this morning, true story, that I told my husband how nervous I was. And I was like, wish me luck. I'm so nervous. He's like, calm down. He takes a just like everybody else does. So I thought he'd enjoy
it was
that.
actually
He was like,
funny. And I think he thought it was hilarious.
he did. He's like, yeah, I do. I was like, and then earlier I told Erica, I'm like, he probably has spirits there while he's taking a dump. But that's a whole nother story. I didn't tell him that. I didn't say that. That was an earlier joke.
I have only ever gone to 2 psychics, and he's one of them. And it was, like a big show, not a private reading or anything. But I have always hoped to hear from my children's father. I've mentioned that to you before. Yes. Because I felt like there's never, obviously it was sudden, unexpected, and there's some questions still that kind of haunt me to this day. I would love to know that he's here around my kids, if nothing else, And so am I a little disappointed that he didn't come through? Yeah, if I'm being honest.
Have your kids ever said that they've gotten any kind of signs, or like
they've had dreams, especially in the first like year or 2 after he passed. Yeah, they both had some powerful dreams, but nothing recent that they have shared with me. But I asked him point blank what I wanted to ask him, about why is it that some people don't seem to come through? And, I thought his answer made a lot of sense, especially when he said that he has people in his family that have never come through to him. I'm like, well, if they're not coming through to him, like...
Yeah, exactly. I really liked the question that I asked him about. I think that some people are more open and more receptive to getting those signs and those validations. Like,
right.
I think that you have to believe it to a certain extent. Like, if you feel like there's no hope, this is all a fake hullabaloo, I think the sign could be right in your face from a past loved one, and you're just not going to see it. You're not. I've had, multiple things since my, parents passed. Like one time I was literally talking with my father had died. It had been already like 15 months since he passed. And I was talking out of the blue, not that I bring up my father on a daily basis, but I was talking to my husband, and we were just talking about, funny stuff. Like, it was just a random conversation that he used to do when I was younger. And then my cell phone rang. So we stopped the conversation. I answered the cell phone, and it was a lady from a pharmacy that my father had used, that there was a rebate check that owed my father for $25.12.
Yeah, see, I don't think that's a coincidence.
I don't either. It was just out of the blue. Like, I don't talk about my father like all the time. Like, I just, and to me and my husband be joking and making jokes about my dad and stuff that he used to do, the phone ring and it be somebody that had a $25 check to come back. I was like, that was weird. I'm like, I'm sorry, but and it wasn't like he just died. I mean, we're talking 15 months later. So they mailed me the check. I got $25.12.
You want to know what my sign is? And it's so weird. I've never really talked about this publicly. There's only probably like 4 or 5 people that I've ever told this to. You know, everyone else has these like, I don't know, cliche signs, like some of the ones John mentioned, like a cardinal, butterfly, pennies, you know, numbers, sequence numbers, that kind of thing. Okay,
Right.
mine, so stupid,
I can't wait to hear this.
the like Volkswagen Bug, VW Bug, the car.
Why? What the hell? What does that mean?
I'm
Who
not
had that
entirely
car?
sure. My grandma had one when I was very
Okay.
young, like one of the old ones. And I remember I have distinct memories of her like taking me to plays, to watch some children's plays when I was younger, and being in this car. And I still remember the smell of like the old leather and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my only memory of ever being in one of those cars. But the year I turned 40, I've alluded to that a lot of times. One day I have to tell this whole story because that's a lot. But it was this very transformational year
Oh.
for me. And
Oh yeah, that was your stressful year. You've told
yeah,
me a
the
little
year
bit
from
about
hell,
that.
the year from hell,
Yes.
truly.
Yes.
Yeah. And so coming out of that year, I really changed my whole outlook. And I went from a lifelong pessimist to to I don't know if I can fully call myself a full-fledged optimist, but I'm like 3/4 of the way there. A whole hell of a lot more than I used to be.
Okay.
And
That's good.
part of that, you know, was like I did all the things like visualization and meditation and affirmations. Like I was doing all those things hardcore for a very long time. And for whatever reason, one day I was in my car driving and I was thinking about, I need a sign. Like, what is my sign, my validation or something? And for whatever reason, the stupid VW Bug is what came into my mind. Okay. So I'm like, if I see these, you know, that's my sign. Well, everyone sees VW Bugs. Like, that's not unusual. But here's what happens to me. And only when I'm like vibrating high, like when I'm really putting in the spiritual work, you know, and I know that sounds hokey,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. No, it
um
doesn't. I'm the more I'm
I
learning
won't
about it, the more
just,
I'm understanding.
yeah, I won't just see like 1 or 2 or 3 when I'm driving around. I will see like 19 just out doing
Mm-hmm.
my errands, like an exorbitant amount. Or I see very unusually painted ones. So not just like a red one or, you know, but like custom paint jobs with, you know, with like 3 different colors on them. Or I will pull into a parking lot and go to park without even looking where I'm parking. And there will be one in front of me, beside me, beside me. You know, it's like all these really weird kind of VW Bug signs, not just 1 or
Well,
2
then that has to be
passing.
that has to be a
Yeah.
sign. I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I I definitely get. I had one other big one time was pretty soon right after my father died. I was, you know, in a sad state because I was a second parent gone, and ooh, let me
Yeah.
not get emotional here. But
You already did that earlier. It's okay. Jessica got a little
well,
emotional on our John Edward podcast, but it was beautiful, and I think it
well,
was important.
it sucks to lose people, parents when you're still young, you know.
Yeah.
Anywho, he loved the Bee Gees, like loved the freaking Bee Gees. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
how deep is
Staying
your
alive,
love.
staying alive.
Yes,
Ah,
yes,
ah.
yes.
That's our CPR song.
When he to the point like when he was in hospice and on his final days, like I would play it on my phone, you know, just songs that he liked. And 2 different times, like right after he passed, like one time I turned on the radio and the freaking song, first thing I turned it on was a Bee Gees song. The next day I opened the TikTok app, which I never get this kind of crap. Like I'm scrolling and the Bee Gees page comes up on my freaking thing. Like, you know, now so now I'm a follower of the Bee Gees on TikTok. But you know, and you know, it could be I think the radio one was definitely a sign. Now maybe the
Yeah.
TikTok one, they probably listened to you and I probably maybe said it to my sister about hearing it on the
Right.
radio,
Right.
and maybe that's why it came up on TikTok. But I definitely look at right when I clicked on the radio that day, having feeling overly emotional, that I turned it on and it was a freaking Bee Gees song, which I was like, to me, that's not something you hear daily. It's not the type of music I've listened to, like, really. Although
Right.
when I do start listening to it, I like it. It did have some great songs, some great hits, but yeah, I take that was another big, big sign for me. And
Yeah.
I would say the only other really big one I've had, and I don't even know if you would say that this isn't really a sign, but right before my mom died, like maybe a couple months before she died, I had this like crazy vivid dream. It was the most uh vivid dream I've ever had. Like where you remember every detail, you know what I'm talking about? And it's like you were really there. You know, some dreams like they're a little foggy or muted, or
Right.
this one, my mom loved Disney World, right? Like she's obsessed with Mickey Mouse and all that. Well, she would take us to Disney multiple times a year, like loves huge Disney freak. So I had a dream before she died that I was walking up to my grandmother's house and I could see, and Mickey Mouse, this is going to sound crazy, like I'm tripping on LSD or something. Mickey Mouse was outside of my grandmother's house, like moving around and dancing, right, with Minnie Mouse.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then all of a sudden, I got this rush of, the only way I can describe it is in my dream, lights. Like, if you've ever seen that movie with Robin Williams where um, it's about like what the afterlife is like. Have you ever seen that where he's in
Oh
heaven? I
my
forget what it's
God.
called.
Yes.
What dreams may
That
come? Is that what it is?
yes, that movie. First of all, disclaimer, like warning, I think for anyone that hasn't seen that movie, I highly recommend it, but please be prepared
Especially now that Robin
to
Williams
watch
has
it.
died too.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
yes. That I've only watched it once and it is forever ingrained in my memory. It was very disturbing, very beautiful, very visually stunning.
yes, the
And
light, the
it
way the
has,
colors are, that they do what
yes,
heaven looks like. That's the only way I can
yes.
explain that dream, is that
But
I saw
purgatory,
in my mind, well, yeah, that part is
I mean,
awful.
that
That's
is awful. I've never really thought about it until I saw that movie, and you can't unthink it after you watch that movie.
it's scary. Okay,
Yeah.
but getting back to the happy part, Erica,
Sorry. Sorry.
the dream that I had was as if I was getting a glimpse of what my mother's heaven was going to be like. That's how I interpret it. Was
Oh,
that I was getting a
wow.
glimpse of what she was going to be living and what she was going to be seeing, like her ultimate freaking party, like the things that brought her joy. So that's the way I interpret that dream. Like, and it was just simple stuff, but and the warmness that I felt in the dream, like I literally felt like as if I was going, it was craziest dream. I've never had a dream like that before, ever since. But I felt warm. I felt peaceful. I felt like there was this light. But I'm telling you, the colors are like colors I've never seen. Like, I mean,
Wow.
crazy pinks, blues, purples. But yeah, that's the closest comparison I could have is the colors they use in that movie. And it was just something simple. Like,
But it was comforting.
oh my, it made me want to go. Like, I mean, if that's a glimpse of what heaven's going to be like, I was like,
Wow.
that dream made me feel like, hey, if that's what my mom is going to experience, she's going to be okay. Because it felt
Yeah.
great. Like, and I think that's another one big like sign I had. It was almost like, maybe it was my grandmother passed that helped me have that dream. Almost like she's going to be okay. Like, this
Yeah.
is what she's going to be seeing, and she'll be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. So that was a
My,
pretty cool one.
yeah. My cousins in Prague in the Czech Republic, they lost their mom when their mom was only about 51 years. She was pretty young. Died of an aggressive cancer, and they have sworn that they see a series of numbers, which is a common thing that people will say for
I have heard
signs,
that.
right? But
Yeah.
her numbers are so obscure. It's I think it's the date of her death. And in Europe, they reverse the order. So it's day of month and then year. And so
Yes,
it's this
yeah.
big, long, like 8-digit obscure number. It's not repeating numbers or anything. It's very oddly specific. And they will see it all the time. And they had told me about this. And I just thought, okay, well, that's nice validation, but it didn't seem so real, maybe. I don't know. And then they came to visit some years ago. And actually, this is funny. I have this picture here because Jessica told me to bring pictures of people that have passed that for our John Edward interview, just to kind of have their energy here if I would like to hear from them. And so this was my cousin, Katerina, and that's
Oh,
in the Czech Republic, in Karlovy Vary, when we went there. And she passed very young, only a
that's
couple years
sad.
after that picture. Yeah, it was beautiful, and I miss her all the time. But she came to visit me with her sister, and I took them to the Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And we get out, we're at, one of the Outlook things. They've never seen the Grand Canyon before. They're in awe. And, they have like those national park informational things, placards all over the place, right? And we're standing in front of one that we hadn't even paid attention to. And we look down, and it's something about like a bald eagle. And it's talking about the wingspan. And it is that exact obscure 8-digit number or whatever it was. And they're like, there it is. And I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Are you serious?
So, yes. And it's this long, like I said, obscure number. It's not repeating numbers like most people, or they have a time or something. No, it's this weird, crazy number. And they see it all the time. Yeah.
See, it's crazy how people's like little validations come through. You know,
Yeah.
I think I lied. I said I don't have other signs, but I do. My mom, when she brought her comfort, was butterflies. Like,
Okay.
oh, and I will share the exact details of the story that I was trying to tell John, that I didn't tell him the specifics, but I'll get into that in a second. But butterflies brought her peace. Like, she passed away under hospice's care in my home. I had butterfly sheets on her bed. She asked at her funeral, she would like a butterfly release. Like, she specifically asked that. She's told me,
Yeah.
which we did, or she probably would have
Yeah.
haunted me if I hadn't. She told me after she passed to look for butterflies, that I would see her in butterflies.
Right.
So, God, here I go again.
It's okay. Get it out. It's a very healing day. It's a healing, emotional day, but we knew that it might be, so that's okay. You take your time. In the meantime, I will show you another picture because I have 4 of them here.
That's a good idea.
Because Jessica gave me this good advice. But this is my ex-husband and I. I don't know if you can see. We're at Stonehenge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I really love this
That's a good picture. You got a panoramic photo there.
Yeah. So I had that one out here, hoping to maybe hear from him.
I'm going to spit this out before I can't say it. So anytime I'm stressed or having a bad time, I'll see like a butterfly, but it'll be like a really colorful one, like not a normal one.
A unique one. Kind of like my crazy VW bugs, not just a red one driving by, but a crazy, unique
like
one that stands out.
Like a yellow and blue or something.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it's meaningful, and you notice it. So
this is my grandmother, my abuela. And that's a rose petal I put in here from her funeral. So, and that's me with her, with this picture. You're going to have to talk for a minute.
Okay.
Let me compose myself.
I'm thinking of all the things
I'll tell my other story
that John said. I appreciate so much his wisdom with his medical background and really being empathetic to nurses. And when I read that, or when I saw the previous podcast he had done talking about empathy manipulation, and he used that term, I was like, oh, wow. Because, I say that all the time. That tells me it's not just talk. Like, he gets it, because unless you've been the victim of empathy manipulation, you don't get it. And the example that
Right.
he gave of his boss saying, well, come in and do the AM labs, and then we'll take you over to day surgery so you can have your tonsils. That is the most
Yeah.
nurse manager thing ever, right? Like,
Typical. Totally,
they would
totally
say that.
typical.
Yeah.
Oh,
They would be
yeah.
like,
Oh,
okay, but
absolutely.
first I need you to work an overtime shift, and then you can do that on your day off.
Or I know that you're coming down with a high fever and you're sick as a dog, and you're probably going to call off tomorrow, but is there any way you could just finish out the shift today? Like, because
Right.
we'd have
Yeah.
nobody to give your patients to. Like, that's the
And
kind
that
of
would be
crap that
patient abandonment, which it's not.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what they would say. You can't just leave.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So, yeah. Anyways, back to, I think I can do it now. The
Okay.
story, what I was going to say is that I told Erica this yesterday, but I did like a little list of like things like that if I did have it mentioned would be really cool. So one of the things I wrote was my admiration for Josh Groban, which I love. I think he's one of the most amazing singers ever. Like I've gone to so many of his concerts, and my mom learned to love him too because she knew how much I did. So when she passed,
Can I interrupt you real quick with the Josh Groban
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I think he's really handsome too, by the way.
He is.
I do.
This is so obscure, but the Josh Groban episode of Ally McBeal is my favorite episode. Do you remember Ally McBeal?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wasn't
that
that
was
the
an
best
amazing episode. Doesn't he sings at, is it the prom or homecoming?
Yeah, like
dance
his
or
prom, like
something?
he's just like a nerd in high school or something. I haven't seen it in like 20 years or whatever. But
It's
then
an
at the
amazing
end,
episode.
she goes with him to prom or something, and then he just gets up there and sings, and the entire high school is like, where did that come from?
He brought down the house, man.
Yeah.
He was young there too. I think he was like 16 years
was.
old. He was like a little
Yeah.
Josh Groban baby. Yeah, the real Josh
Yeah.
Groban fans, we call us Grobanites. That's the nickname
Are you
for
serious?
Josh Groban.
Like Swifties?
Yeah. Yeah, they're Grobanites.
I didn't know that.
There's a cult of us. But anyways, he sings with me being Catholic, Ave Maria is a huge important song. Like
that is such
and he sings
such
Ave
a
Maria.
beautiful song.
It's beautiful.
I had that play at my wedding. If you've never listened to
Josh Groban's, there's something very peaceful and
relaxing. It will bring me to tears if I hear a really beautiful rendition of it. My favorite is Luciano Pavarotti singing it a cappella.
He's
amazing.
Forget
where. And it's just beautiful. Beautiful.
It truly is. But I don't play it anymore because it takes me back to Anyways, so my mom, when she was passing away, she wanted that played as she was in her final hours. So it was on repeat over and over. It was beautiful. I mean, as she's crossing over, to have that playing was gorgeous. Anyways, I wrote that down as one of my things yesterday. I was writing it down on paper. I specifically wrote right here.
And she did. Josh I can verify this because she showed it to me yesterday.
Ave Maria when she died. Okay, I wrote that down. As I just finished writing that down, I'm simultaneously trying to do more research on John Edward, and I was watching one of his readings in a group setting. Like, I don't know, it was a random YouTube video, and I was listening to it, and he says, he's talking to two ladies, and he's like, I'm getting something about an opera type singers, almost like a Josh Groban or an Andre Bocelli.
That there's a connection to somebody listening to, this is my musical section, there's a connection to a male opera singer. There's a connection to something with male opera. I'm hearing loud opera voice, whether it be Mario Lanza or Pavarotti, Placido, I don't know what this is, Josh Groban, but there's like a male voice, loud.
I literally goosebumps everywhere at the frickin' coincidence, or not coincidence, I think it was a validation, he says it was, of thinking that if there was some way that he brought that up would be amazing, but writing it down physically, putting it out there in the universe as and I thought it was cool that he did validate for us that this was an amazing thing to do. because you have to be open and you have to put it out there. And if you're ever going to be receptive or, to opening up and hearing these things. But to write it down as I'm making my list, it was the 5th thing on my list. I'd just written that one. And he says to the lady, something's coming through about an opera. Well, and her connection was not Josh Groban. It actually was Andre Bocelli. I'll have to find the episode, show it to Erica.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I literally, because I'm looking at my paper, I was like, I looked up at my computer screen. I'm like, holy hell, did that just happen? Did I really just write that down? Josh Groban's song, Ave Maria, when she died, and he just said, I'm getting an opera singer like a Josh Groban. Yeah. What the flip? I mean...
okay, but I wrote down something and a symbol that would have, been meaningful to me, and I didn't get it at all. So
maybe
I'm a little jealous.
You need to not close off, though, because it might not be that you got it yesterday or that you got it today, but you might get it when you're least expecting it. Maybe it'll be tomorrow, or maybe at a time that you're feeling cruddy, or after you've meditated or something, you might,
Yeah.
That
I need to get back into doing that. I haven't done it in a while. I'm not vibrating pretty high these days. I need to put in the work.
Oh, I'm always vibrating everywhere. I'm like,
oh, really?
Yeah, woo, I feel good.
TMI.
Yeah. No, not that kind of vibration.
One of those remote control ones.
Yeah, no, this is more like we discussed that on the podcast too, was a lot of healthcare workers. I think some more than others, not everybody, but there's a large percentage of us that do take on people's emotions or feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like you can't help it, even to the point that I do this with everybody. Like, during the podcast taping with John Edward, I felt the need to validate him. Like, I felt like poor John Edward. Like, poor John Edward.
Poor John Edward.
Yeah, poor multimillionaire John Edward. Like, I felt like he needs to hear these things happen,
I'm sure he does.
Knows.
I'm sure he does.
But
and especially psychics get so much criticism and hate, for as much love as much love as they get, I'm sure, equal amounts criticism and hate.
Yeah. I'm always taking on other people's, I'm always like, they must feel like this. They must, I'll have not talked to somebody for months and I'll get them on the phone and I get a sense like something's wrong. They're going through a difficult time. Are you okay? Whereas other people wouldn't notice it. Like, it's just, I do that to myself. And I think that that's draining. Like, so a lot of times, like, as far as like deaths that I've had, I close myself off because when I open it, it's like the floodgates. So I try like you probably won't hear me talk about this for a long time after today, because it's too much.
It's hard. I get that. I do. Okay, but can we talk about how I was funny for once?
You did make a funny. It was really good. It was, I thought.
Because that's not my lane.
Literally.
I'm not funny.
You made me spit I spit Diet Coke out. I spit on my podcast with John Edward
podcast.
I literally, and now I'm like, remember, what the hell did you say?
I said
about the death joke. You made a, no pun intended.
Yeah, I said, so, what was my question?
I'm dying to ask you or something.
When someone has something about, no, maybe it was. Now I don't even remember. I have to go back and listen. Maybe it was.
I think you said,
I'm dying to ask you. And then I said, no pun intended, but
I thought it was hysterical. I was
Jessica's
like, that was
like,
good.
Oh my God, you were funny.
Yeah, I literally did. I spit out my Diet Coke. And you actually, I will say, seemed very relaxed.
I was super nervous beforehand, but that's because I had, as I told you, I won't get into it, but a lot of crazy stuff happening overnight and I had no sleep, and I'm having to deal with that. And I almost had to cancel it, but I did not want to, and you would have killed me and I wouldn't have forgiven myself. So I was a bundle of nerves because of that. I'd have been like,
Erica, sorry, I'm going on.
I know you would have. You would have been like, bitch, see ya.
I knew
It's mine.
he's going to Australia. The man is not going to be available.
Right.
So I'm glad you were able at least we made it happen.
But once it
thank
started,
goodness.
I was fine, and I thought I would be nervous, but I wasn't at all. He's very easy to talk to. He did show up like 10 minutes early, right? And so we were
He was
already
early.
on prepping.
Yeah.
And then he just showed up. He's very obviously timely, prompt. But
Which
that
I
was kind
liked.
of surprising,
And I could tell, I think he was in his house. That's his background in his home.
Is
Because
it?
whenever he does like TikToks
I didn't know
or
that.
little videos, it's always like that warm blue
That
kind of
blue
colored background
lighting.
with
I like
a couple
that.
candles.
Yeah.
So
I was
it
wondering.
seemed like
So
he must be back
he's
home.
not, but he's on tour, right? But you said he's in New
But
Jersey.
he's got a break
I thought he lived
until
in New York.
October 16th. He's got a break till the 16th.
As if this
I
man's
know
schedule is
everything
any
about
of our
John Edward
business.
now. I know. I'm like, you'll be in New Jersey on the 16th. He's like, oh, I will. I'm like, yes. And you're doing 2 days in New Jersey, and then you go to Australia. He's like, psycho. He's probably like, cuckoo. But I'm sure some people don't do their homework
he liked
about
Australia.
Him.
Remember?
Yeah, he does.
When we were prepping, I'm like, he does a lot of stuff in Australia. I don't know what the Australia thing is, but like every time you look up a video about him, it seems like it's in Australia. Sure enough, we talked about that too. Yeah. He has an affinity for Australia.
Yeah, he said he does like it. The people are really friendly. They are friendly. I have some nurses that are supporters of mine that are from Australia, and they're like the kindest, like just genuinely nice. Like and go with the flow. Like I swear I'm getting the vibe that this is just an Australia thing. Like just very
I have
compassionate
a whole
and caring
playlist on Australia nurses. It's old. It's like 3 years old, but it's Australian nurses have it good from what I remember.
Really? They do?
They have a whole national nursing union for like the whole country. It seems like their pay, I'm trying to remember, is pretty good. I want to say they have ratios. God, it's been so long. But you know what they do there, which is interesting, and I'm not sure how I feel about this, is they graduate nursing school. They come out of nursing school already in a specialty. So like they come out as a trained L&D nurse or peds nurse or whatever they decide to do. I don't know that I think that's a good idea, because don't you think you need the whole general nursing, education? And I'm sure they get it to some extent, and then what if you get into it and then you don't even like that specialty? So then you have to go back to school? Like, I don't know. That's the one thing that I thought was weird. He's kind of our biggest guest by far so far, right?
We have more coming up, don't we, Erica?
We
do.
Not saying, we have a lot more coming up. Like, it's going to be exciting, so please stay tuned. But we've only done 13, 14 episodes so far, and
this will be 14. The
lucky 14,
and this will be 15. This is number 15.
Yeah, this bonus episode, which we didn't have planned. We're just doing it because we had so much to talk about, like a debrief. So I think this is exciting. Like, we're only, we're brand new to podcasting. We have not only this huge celebrity, but someone that I have truly, genuinely fangirled over for 20 plus years. Like,
been to his shows. You've been to his shows.
Yeah, been to his show, have books, all of it. And this is like a huge moment, I think for me, and I know it is for you.
Check out his app. I want to see about becoming a
me
member
too.
of that.
Yeah, it's evolveplus.tv.
Yes, I'm really excited about that. Like, he explains it on our podcast, but he goes on there and he does like live readings and stuff on the app, and you get like special privileges, like special John Edward privileges. Like, you're the first one to buy tickets, you're the first one to be in line for being read. And
I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yeah, there's like bonus little perks and stuff.
Okay.
And it's like a support team. And he was explaining that there's so many fake John Edward scams out there. that this is like a safe place for people to
I can't
go
even
to know.
imagine, because there's so many fake Nurse Ericas, and he's on another stratosphere compared to me. So if I have
Yeah,
that
he
many,
must
I
have
can't
them.
imagine what he's
He
dealing
has
with.
them probably everywhere. Like it's got to
Yeah.
be out of control.
Yeah.
So I got a second validation. I think in my mind, maybe not, but I'm going to interpret it that way. I had brought where did I put it? My grandmother's rosary. My abuela, as I call her, she's my Cuban grandmother. We didn't call her
Yeah.
grandma.
And
she's
when I
abuela.
was freaking out this morning before the podcast started, I was freaking out because of all the drama I had to deal with overnight. Jessica pulls out this rosary and she's
I'm
like,
like, where
okay,
did I put it?
let's just pray. Let's just breathe. I'm like,
oh, here
okay.
it is. Here it is. Okay, there it is. It was sitting next to me. So this is what I had with me, which is
It's
actually
really pretty.
my abuela's rosary that I was given. I could keep it. So this is like from Cuba. This is probably, she was born in 1910. So this has got to be over probably 100 years old.
Wow.
So this is very, very special to me. And I keep it actually in my studio room here. It's on a shelf in here just as like
Oh, I love that.
yeah. So this is, it's not like I pulled it out from, it's always with me. But I thought today would be like, that was another thing I'd written down was about like, if he mentioned that, like my grandmother and the rosary. But anyways, we started getting on a topic about being receptive to frequencies and like how you kind of have to like, some people are more receptive to that, more spiritual because they meditate or they get themselves into that zone, they allow it, like
right.
So I was like, yeah, that's funny that you say that. I said, actually, or Erica, I think said, Jessica actually, no. I brought up, I said, I have like rosaries. I said, growing up Catholic, it was very strict. You do like, for most people that don't know, like for you do like 10 Hail Marys, and then you switch to an Our Father. Then you do 10 Hail Marys and you count each bead as a prayer.
Right.
For Catholics, it's like you do this, like you will do it, like that's how you're raised.
Right.
I don't use it in the same way anymore. I mean, I do, I pray, but it's not like I have to do this. It's more of like a meditation. I explained to John, was what I was telling him. Like I do it to like calm myself or to try to connect with people that have passed. That's like if I'm trying to like close my mind. And I knew that he had, when I was doing my research yesterday for his intro, one of his books says something about the rosary. I wrote it down, but I didn't know what it was about, or I mean, I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, you need to get that book and read it.
Yeah. So after I told him how I use the rosary now and it helps me be more receptive, he's like, he started talking about the book, and he's like, that's exactly what the book is about. He says he's a recovering Catholic, which I can completely understand that. And while he still uses the rosary too, which I didn't know because I don't know what the book is about, but he uses it in the same way, as it's a relaxation, it's a meditation, it's a way to connect with the energy world, the world of spiritual world of of where people go when they leave their physical body. So in my mind, and I think I might have showed this earlier, but this was my abuela. This is the one that would always sit in her rocker, my little Cuban abuela, and do every night that rolled after dinner, back and forth, and you would see her in Spanish, but she always, or if she was nervous or scared or worried about us, she'd be pacing, holding this and praying. So I thought that was really cool to me. I got maybe that it is a validation.
I think
the one
it was.
yesterday.
I think it was. Yeah.
And then just the fact that I brought up the rosary and that his book, he wrote that like in the same way that I use the rosary.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. He told me I need to come to a show. He doesn't want you to come to a show, Erica.
Listen, I've already been to a show.
I know that's why he said it. But
he's
I
my
had to
buddy.
Tease you.
Back off.
I have never been to a one of his shows, but I would love to. He's got 2 in New Jersey, and then he's going to be in Australia. But That would be amazing. But
It'd be fun if we could go to one together, like if he came to Vegas or something and you came out here
oh
and
my
we went
gosh,
to
I
one
would love
together.
it.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
But I think those are his last 2 dates as of right now in the U.S. is the New
Yeah, but
Jersey
I
ones.
think he does it like every year, maybe every couple of years or something goes on to, I don't know.
I don't
He's
know,
been doing
but
it a long time.
that was really, really neat too. And then while I'm calm now, I'll show y'all can all see where I get my love for wine from. My mother, even on her final days of battling cancer, even though she could barely drink anything or she had a little bit, she'd always say, I take a little bit. You know, she still wanted it.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Just like me. Yeah. So I had her picture in here too. And
Okay,
it was a pretty powerful recording, pretty powerful.
It was. I'm proud.
Podcast.
And you
I
know
can't
what's
wait to-
amazing? We have had nothing but like technical difficulties from day one of podcast because we don't know what the hell we're doing. And unfortunately, Jessica has to deal with the lion's share of that because I suck at all things technical. But it has been like every week that we record one, it's like what fresh new hell awaits us this week in technical
Oh, wait till I do a response video on you that after you told me that it wasn't you, now we find out it was you, the messing everything up with the cord.
We're not even getting into that. We're not even getting into that.
I'm going to get her back and do my own TikTok. Watch. Yeah, I'm going to do my own little
We're
thing.
not even getting into that.
You want to know what?
My point is, today, our most important podcast to date, I would say, everything, knock on wood, seems to have gone exceptionally smooth, right?
It did.
Like there was nothing. And that's never happened before.
Never.
Like there was
never.
The quality was great. There was no issue.
Granted, we prepared.
Okay,
like
yeah.
No
so
other.
Can we talk about
how anal I was?
How nervous Jessica has been for like weeks. She has been just beating me over the head with the John Edward interview and we need to do this. And she made me set up because my normal background in my office is ugly as shit. Right.
Yeah.
And
so
true. That wasn't good enough for John Edwards. So I had to move everything out here, which is fine.
Said, don't you have a plant or something? Good God.
She's like, put a plant, do something. It's so ugly. And then she made me set it all up yesterday, a full 24 hours ahead of time with all the equipment and everything. And she's like, don't touch a thing. Don't touch your laptop. Nothing moves until tomorrow. And we had to do all these dry test runs yesterday. Yeah. But even before that, you have been a crazy person about this interview.
I have.
She keeps bringing up like all the things that could go wrong and he's going to cancel. And
if John Edwards shows up and Eric would be like, stop it. I'm like,
stop putting the negativity in the universe.
I know, but I'm really weird about that. It's almost like I prepare myself for the worst in case it happens because I don't want to I hate being let down and crushed. Like that's one thing that, and I was so excited about doing this taping and having him so kindly come on to our podcast that I was just like, I wanted it to happen and go off without a problem. So I just kept like trying to set it up in case it didn't happen. Like, and so I wouldn't, even though I have still been disappointed, but that was what I was trying to do. But Erica wanted to kill me every time.
Every day she would come up with some mythical thing that could go wrong, you know, and it's been going on for weeks and weeks. And so like we sent the official invite to his assistant, to John Edward's assistant. And I guess she didn't like reply to that, but she had replied to all the previous emails. Well, Jessica got it in her head that meant he canceled. He's not doing it.
I did. I'm like, well, I said, I'm like, Erica, you're going to have to get on TikTok. She's like, I'll send him a message on TikTok. And he responded right away. Thank gosh.
Away.
And he,
yeah.
He said, I'm sorry. We're so busy, out on tour. And who knows? Maybe his assistant got fired. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm sure she's a lovely lady.
But every single
John,
scenario.
She never responded. Just in case she's on, on the line, on the bubble there.
Oh,
I'm
no.
just kidding. I don't care. He did. We're happy.
And he was
He
very
said
generous with his time. He wasn't like trying to
very,
wrap up. I feel like we
very.
could have kept going longer and he would have been fine, but I didn't want to take advantage of his time.
Yeah, we survived. We need a t-shirt that says, "I survived John Edward."
That makes it sound like
It
he's
just
so
it was
difficult. He was wonderful. He was wonderful.
no. He's just a great celebrity, and he's such a genuine
Yeah.
person. He just I was not anticipating being so starstruck, and I was. You're right. I've never been that
I was
quiet.
Oprah.
You were. Yeah, you should say, so, John. It says here back when you were in Las Vegas. Yeah, I mean, she was just like the words were coming out like butter, and
I
then
was
I'm
fine.
like,
Yeah. It was funny. We switched gears. Yeah. Okay, but
when I
wait, can
watch
you
this back, I probably am gonna cry watching what I said.
Okay, but what was your reaction to my story that I shared about what happened
my
at his live
God.
show? Because you guys, I've been telling Jessica for weeks that this has been planned. I'm like, I have a really special story to share when he's on the podcast, but I'm not going to tell you because I want you to hear it for the first time during the podcast. So she had no idea. So what was your reaction to that?
Goosebumps. I literally,
Yeah.
I as you were telling it, I had a feeling where it was going. I didn't think that you were going to say all three people were there and didn't know that they were all going to be there, or three families. But as soon as you got to like, and then the third family was there, and he brought this up to all three families about the car accident, literally,
and was putting
like,
it
remember I
together
told you
little by little. Yeah.
When I get like those spiritual kinds of things, like it's always goosebumps down one leg, like, and I heard that and went all the way down my left leg. And I was glad you shared that with him because he did not know that, like, about that.
Yeah,
So that was really
didn't
cool.
know. Yeah, that was
The other
my
thing
way
I
of
thought was
validating
cool,
him.
and I was so nervous, but remind me, how did he explain again when he was younger, because he wasn't so honed into the raising of his energy, like he would get visual encounters more often, and he doesn't really get that anymore. Like, I was so nervous. I don't think I heard him explain it.
I think I might need to re-listen to that too.
It made sense as he explained it. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, what did he say?
I don't remember. Oh my God. It was just like a half hour ago. Jesus.
I know, but it was in the beginning. It was like at the very beginning, I think. And I think it had something to do with now, because he puts himself
now he's
into
really
this,
like honed his skills, and he can
or
really,
he said he has, I know what it was. He has to be almost beyond where his normal skill level is for that to happen. Like, the visualization from that one patient in the hospital was because he was so feeling so much about his mother's
That's
passing.
right. He was in his own emotions, and so he was so receptive and open. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And he said that does not happen very often, because that's a really hard level to get to, like, to be able to do. And he didn't even realize that that's what was happening, but that's what happened. Is he was so taken aback by seeing this patient that looked just like his mother, that it heightened his sense of awareness, basically. And that energy, that spirit was there, and that's why he was able to see that lady's son, which was really cool. So I did get that answer.
Okay, but you need to tell the story, because I wanted you to ask him about this, and I gave her the opportunity, and she didn't get it, and she didn't ask. But tell the story about the Adam and Eve thing that you read about, because I didn't know this.
Yeah, he always, growing up in a strict Catholic household, as I did, would question things. Like, he found himself questioning, like, one example he gives is there really a boat with two animals of each species? I mean, come on, like, let's be realistic here. Another question that he actually asked when he was of school age and got in big trouble, but I think it's hysterical. He evidently asked, if Adam and Eve, had kids, does that mean those kids were basically having sex with each other in order to procreate? And they like yelled at him, and they were like how dare he ask this? Like, he got in huge trouble. I don't know if he got sent home or what.
But it makes
his
sense, and I never thought about that.
I never did either.
If you believe that literally, like, it would have to be, right? They were the only people. And so there would have been an incestual...
Like, how do you explain this? And they were like,
right.
Like, how dare you? So no, I didn't bring that up, which I should have probably, but I think I had already made a couple little jokes. And we had a laugh at the end about the erectile dysfunction. That was hysterical.
That was so funny. That was unexpected. Yeah, he's funny. He's funny. And
he does not have erectile dysfunction, by the way.
No.
No.
You have to listen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, listen to the show, but it was about how the ER now is turned into the ED. So that's kind of how that joke happened. But it was a great podcast, and we're very thankful. So
we're very appreciative.
We wanted to do this video fresh while we were all in our feels. And so obviously, if I had waited like a week and we did this, I probably wouldn't have cried 18 times on this podcast. But that's okay. It is what it is. I'll be better.
Yeah.
And
don't apologize.
It was amazing.
I think it was just
it's okay.
Real emotion.
But I want people to know that we'll get back to our regular like traditions and our regular, nursing cocktail. And I mean, you guys, right now we started at 11 a.m. my time, crack of dawn. I mean, I don't think Erica and I are going to be chugging down, cocktails. And we wanted to give
7:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Every moment possible. The rest of our guests we don't care about. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, you guys. That's a joke. Obviously,
but we have a couple good ones coming.
Yes,
and I think this one's given us a little confidence. So maybe, honestly, like
we can do
people that follow me, I'm like, I'm just gonna ask them. I'm just gonna like send these cold messages to big people that follow me. And I don't even know a lot. I don't ever really look at my following list, but I know of about half a dozen big people that follow me.
I also take that as another positive. What is the word? Validation. To me, the validation of him coming on this podcast in my mind is a validation of the spiritual world, because I feel like my mother and my Abuela would have known how much this would mean to me, and in some way orchestrated it and made it happen. Y'all might call me
crazy. Look at her trying to take credit. Look at her trying to take credit for getting John Edwards. She's saying that her dead relatives got him. He followed me and I asked him, and she's trying to take credit through her dead relatives. Are you kidding me?
It had nothing to do with Erica. My mother follows John Edward from heaven, and
she's really trying to take credit for my.
I think they used you as a vessel, but I did. Well, Erica does. They follow each other, so that did help. That helps a lot, actually. But I'm going to take it as a validation in my mind, anyways. But yeah, Erica, I was like, ask him, didn't I? You were like,
yeah, you did. You pushed me.
I was like, just do it.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm like, worst he either does. I didn't think he was going to respond, to be honest. I don't know. I thought like
I
he'd
didn't
be
either.
like,
I didn't, but he did rather quickly. I was really impressed.
He said, sure.
Yeah.
And then we were like,
it was great.
Like as if we're talking to like Joe Schmo. Eric's like, what's your availability? Like, I don't know. Talk to my assistant. Assistant number
like,
2,
have
you?
Idea.
Number 2. How many does he have? Assistant 2. That's who we got assigned. We got assigned assistant 2.
We didn't make number 1. I don't think that's what it meant. Really I think it meant I think it meant she's the assistant to John Edward.
Oh,
she's blonde.
I'm so stupid.
You're being blonde.
I thought they were numbered. I literally thought I was like, how high does it go? Assistant 9? Shit, you never know. Damn. Imagine Oprah's like assistant 99. Like who knows? We'll see you guys next week on the next this month is going to be full of surprises. So stay tuned. More cool stuff to come.